Welcome to Politics Done Right. This is Egberto Willis, your host. Thank you so kindly for being here with us, folks. We have a great program in store for you. But you know what, folks? It's going to be a subject that touches the name of the subject today. And I want you all to be out there listening and being ready. The subject today is hate. Hate. And I'm going to show how it's used in Great Britain, how it's used here, how it's used within our economic system, how it is necessary for our economic system to survive, how our economic system was built on it. But beforehand, I want to introduce our great folks in the studio. And we got there on the our engineer-in-chief right now today is El Señor Stuart. Stuart, how are you doing today, my friend?
Good afternoon, Egberto. I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing marvelous, man. Having great folks in the studio, it's just wonderful. And, you know, also along with you taking the phones today is my good friend, my brother from another mother from a long time ago, the one and only Norman Reynolds. Norman, how are you doing today, sir?
Hey, Egberto, doing great.
Well, look, I hope having you in here, you are going to will those contributions in as we talk about a very important subject, Norman.
Yes, let's get them in here.
Let's get them in. And of course, Howard is doing this normal supervision, making sure everything is working perfect out here. Hey, Howard, first of all, before we get busy, I just want to thank you for all the work you've done to get KPFT back on air. Anyhow, folks, remember, give us a call, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. We need to hear from you. I'd love your contributions to start early so that I can do little less pitching, because if you contribute early, I can keep more to the subject at hand, the subject that you really want to hear. 713-526-5738. Una vez más lo voy a repetir. I'll repeat it one more time. 713-526-5738. The subject is hate. Call 713-526-5738. Go ahead and hit the number 1 to give us a contribution. Hit the number 2 to speak to me on air based on what we're talking about or anything you want to talk about. Because one thing I like everybody to understand, whether we're talking Politics Done Right on KPFT or Politics Done Right elsewhere, this show will always be yours. You will always have input into this show like you have always had input into this show. So do you want to say something up present what's occurring right now? 713-526-5738. And sorry about that. Sometimes you forget to turn your phone off. But anyhow, listen, folks, give us a call as soon as you can. 713-526-5738. Hate. Hate is a very important thing. You know, human beings love human beings. I mean, if you see two kids standing up or being together, there's nothing that makes kid number 1 hate kid number 2. They have their little rat races. They have their little things happen with them, but they're friends. They're friends. They like each other. They love each other. And that's how it is as we're growing up. Humanity, that is just how humanity is. You talk about the different wars or stuff in La Selva and, you know, tribes and all of that. That's true. But when you look at it from the bottom line, the way it's been used, hate is used in America. Hate is used around the world, around the Western world. It has become a necessity. And the reason it has become a necessity is because when you have an economic system that depends on doing wrong on others, when you have an economic system that cannot stand on its own to support everybody at a marginally good rate, what you get is hate. And you know, today Steve Bannon got convicted. Steve Bannon got thrown the book. Got 4 months in jail. But of course, he got it deferred until his appeal gets through. But Steve Bannon was one of the promoters of dividing people. How did we start our country? We started our country pretty much enslaving folks. But the only way we could do that is if we were able to foment hate, create hate in one's heart to another. Because none of us as human beings want to see another human being hurt. I know there are some studies some of you are going to bring up with that one where that guy throws the electricity out there and see how much pain you could inflict on another person. There's that experiment that's out there. But what I always thought about that experiment is that it had more to do with peer pressure than anything else. That we just want to inflict pain unadulteratedly on somebody else. So I'm going to leave that out, that particular experiment for now. But again, the way we started our country, we had to depend on others thinking differently of the other. And in thinking differently of the other and thinking lowly of the other, ensuring that the other doesn't have the humanity that we have, that gives us the peace of mind to hurt that other. And that is what we have done from the inception of our country. People talk about it being our original sin. Well, hell, it's the original sin of all the psychopaths that have always run different countries, different nations, different tribes, etc. It's not the notion of absolutely everybody. It is our leaders, and because we tend to be following our peers, we adapt what they have provided to us. 713-526-5738. Again, the number is 713-526-5738. Please go ahead and provide whatever contribution you can, to support this program, to support this station. 713-526-5738. And Norman is in the studio reminding me the name of the experiment of inflicting pain was called the Milgram experiment. And the truth of the matter is I didn't even remember the name of the experiment. I just remember seeing it on TV when they played it. Norman, do you recall the basics of that experiment altogether? And you can actually use them. Yeah. Do you recall that?
Is where subjects were told to shock someone that was acting there was an actor placed in a box away from the other folks. And the subjects were brought in. These were college students that were brought in. And they were told to follow the instructions of someone in a white lab coat. And that person told that person to shock the person. And they kept shocking the person until, they get up to a very high voltage. Now, even when people did not want to do it, the white coat would say, you got to do it. And they would continue doing it. It was a part of following instructions. I don't know if they really paid attention to hate that much in that experiment.
Right. I don't think it really had nothing to do with hate. But what I guess the notion that I'm trying to get across is that I don't even think people human beings really hate one other than from what others have told them, which if I take it as a corollary to that experiment, right? In other words, it's not that experiment wasn't trying to figure out hate or anything, maybe about somebody giving instructions to doing stuff and somebody goes out and do it, right?
Exactly. It was about forcing, conforming to the will of someone who they see as a superior or as someone who's giving them instructions.
Exactly. And what I've noticed, folks, is it's what's quite interesting, right? Is that is the same thing that happens with hate. I've been back into 2010s during the Obamacare debate, what is it called? ACA, the Affordable Care Act. During that time, I remember going into what we would call the belly of the beast. And the purpose of going into the belly of the beast was talking to folks that thought completely differently than I did. And the goal was to try to find common ground. And it was amazing how these people that would normally expound hate towards me, how we actually became friends. And I mean such friends that one of the people wanted to become business partners. Okay, I see David is on. Let's go ahead and bring David online. David, how are you doing today, David? You'll be on shortly. We're learning the phones. We are going to be on shortly to the network. There you go. David, how are you doing today?
Hey, Mr. Egberto.
¿Cómo estás?
Not too bad. It could be better. Hey, I was listening to your topic, and you're talking about hate.
Yes.
Well, interesting thing about hate is that hate is a product of fear.
Yes.
And I wanted to share something with you that you might want to think about for a future show.
Sure, go ahead.
There's two books that I've read. The author of the two books, his name is Hector Garcia. Hector A. Garcia. He's got a degree from University of Texas. He's studied psychology and therapy. Right now, he's working at the UT Health Science Center, I think, in San Antonio. He's working with
it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. Go ahead. Just make the point. It's okay, my friend.
He's working with
another professor.
No, he's working with veterans.
Oh, with veterans. Got you.
And that are suffering from PTSD.
Got you.
But the two books that he wrote, and he's been in Houston, and he's visited one of the groups that I'm involved in. He has visited this group, and he spoke at one of the group's meetings. And the two books he wrote, one of them is called Alpha God.
Yes.
And the other book he wrote is called Sex, Power, and Politics.
Right.
And one of the things he goes into in detail is he doesn't begin with humanity. He starts with our primate ancestors.
Right.
He talks a lot about how chimps. Jane Goodall is noted for her research with chimps and bonobos.
Right.
And apes. And one of the things that it was.
Let me halt you a quick second, David, because I just want to put a plug in for our show. Hey, folks, as David talked, please remember to give us a call at 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738, or go to kpft.org and contribute. Ensure that we can have these kinds of conversations, positive conversations and meaningful conversations to effect change. 713-526-5738. If you want to speak to me, you hit the number 2 when you call the number. If you want to give a contribution, and we do need your contributions right now. Right now, we are still hitting a moonshot, in other words, 0. So we need somebody to give us a call and continue the path that we were on prior to this show. 713-526-5738. Once again, 713-526-5738, or go to kpft.org. Be sure to select Politics Done Right as a show that you're supporting on KPFT. Please do note that all contributions go into our big KPFT pot to go ahead and keep this station on air. David, sorry for interrupting you, but we're in Fund Drive. I'm trying to do our program as we do Fund Drive. Go ahead, my friend.
I understand. Yeah, I have pledged in the past. I donated a vehicle to KPFT back in 2015, and I've also had a sustainer pledge. And currently I'm not able to donate because of my financial situation is.
Sir, I can well understand, sir, and you know what? We want those who can support us to support us. A cup of coffee a month, a couple of cups of coffee a month, or a one-time contribution, $25 to start, $40 to become an entire KPFT member and Pacifica member. Or I'm going to have a few offers a bit later for you as well. 713-526-5738. If you can afford to support us, remember that cable bill. I'm coming back to you right away, David. But remember that cable bill. You pay many times $100, many times $200, many times $300, right? For cable. And you are paying for folks to ill-inform you, disinform you, misinform you. can always rest assured that coming to KPFT, a program like Politics Done Right, you're going to be getting well-researched data. Every now and then I may make a mistake, and I have no problems correcting it, unlike our mainstream media. 713-526-5738. Again, 713-526-5738. Please go ahead and hit kpft.org on the internet if you so desire as well. But we really need your contributions. Now I want to bring in our station manager right now so he can say a few words. And while he's speaking, also consider giving us at 713-526-5738. Sandy, come on in, my brother.
Push 1 to donate, or
push 1 to donate,
or 2 to be connected to this program and chat with Egberto and everybody else for that matter. We can create a group conversation.
Here we go.
And that's what we'd like to do for Houston, create that group conversation about the song you just heard, about the issue that was just discussed, all of that in community media. Your friends, your neighbors. Egberto lives right here, doesn't live anywhere else. I think
right
on the north side of town.
North side of town, Kingwood.
North side of town. There you go. I'm on the other side of town. Okay, south side of town. I don't know what part of town you're living in. I don't know what town you're living in for that matter, but you are listening and you are hearing sounds and people and thoughts and ideas that are shared amongst us. This venue makes it possible. All we're asking for, I'm a volunteer, by the way, volunteer interim general manager. All the people that are running the board, Egberto, volunteers. We're not getting paid for this. That's not what you're paying for. What you're paying for is the basic cost of keeping a 100,000 watt FM broadcast station on the air and streaming capability all over the world, supporting not 1, but 2 full grids of content. We have our FM HD1 and FM HD2 grids, differing content. You can access that on your smartphone or device or on an HD radio. That's what you're supporting with your donation. The idea, the very idea that free speech should have a home. 713-526-5738. Push 1 to donate or go to kpft.org and click that friendly donate button. Folks, we are just a few dollars, maybe $140 shy of halfway of the $150,000 that we're looking to raise on this October drive. The most important drive of our fiscal year because it's the first of our fiscal year, and also because we're all coming out of COVID. Every nonprofit is coming out of COVID, going, thank God that is abating, because it choked the life out of a number of them and almost choked the life out of more. And unfortunately, that includes Pacifica and KPFT. We're coming back from this. Yeah. So your call today, your contribution during this very drive is so needed to put an exclamation point behind getting a new building and being back. We need you back too. We need you back in the fold of those contributing to the idea of free speech and a home for it. Thank you, Egberto.
Thank you very much, Sandy. That was wonderful. Folks, 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. David, give me a closer. Afterwards, I have to get Jerry Lynch on air, but I really appreciate you listening, calling. And you said that you don't have anything to contribute right now. Let me tell you something, brother. You being a listener, you are contributing with the information as well that you're giving us. So thank you for being there. And I have
something else to contribute before you let me go.
Sure.
I became eligible for my mail-in ballot in 2018. Well, I've had to apply for that again in 2020, which I received a mail-in ballot, but I wasn't sure whether I was going to get one this year. But on Friday, I looked in my mailbox and it was my mail-in ballot was in there. So I went ahead and opened it up and processed it and got it in the mail. So I've already voted.
Let me tell you, I know you're a smart man. I know you voted your interest. So thank you so kindly for voting, David. And don't forget, you're listening to us again. We're back on air live. Please remember to tell your friends, your family that KPFT 90.1 FM Houston is back on air live. Okay?
We used to have a show on KPFT. I worked with it. It was called the Atheist Hour.
All right, brother. I appreciate you, man. You take care and you have a good one. Let's go to Jerry Lynch, my brother, Jerry Lynch. Thank you, David. Have a good one. Jerry, how you doing today, brother?
Pretty good, Egberto. First time I've listened to, I guess, not your new show, but you're in this current schedule with the new office.
Yes, it's a new studio, and we're trying to raise funds for this studio. And you know what, Jerry? It's great hearing your voice once again, sir. Talk to me. I know you have something to say about El Señor Presidente. I like to call him Lula's cousin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's Lula's cousin. He's very anxious to have Lula win down in Brazil, but Lopez
Obrador.
Andres Manuel Lopez
Obrador. Yeah.
AMLO, as he's called, the current president of Mexico, is the Bernie Sanders of Mexico. Now, there's almost impossible to find anything favorable about this guy written in English. So anybody who really wants to know about him, don't rely on the New York Times and all sorts of English publications. I've searched and searched. You can't find anything really that positive about him. But you can go to Wikipedia, which apparently is millions of Mexican followers that managed to take control of, I suppose. And it gives a very detailed biography of all the things he's done since a young politician at 26 years old up until running for president 3 times for president of Mexico, and he finally won. It's like Bernie Sanders actually won.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, Jerry.
Right.
Jerry, here's the thing, okay? The subject today is hate, and I'm glad that you brought up...
Oh, hate.
Yes, and I'm glad that you brought up AMLO, right? Lopez Obrador, because one of the things that you just said something so important when you say you can't find anything good about him in English, right? And that is because Obrador, just like Lula and these other guys, believe in humanity. They believe in keeping people together. They believe in making sure everybody has equal access to success, to succeed, etc. But the only way to abrogate that, right? The only way to stop that from occurring is if you can get the animus of one folk against another. You want to do all these issues, and the reason you want to do that is for a few to take the most. And in doing so, the only way you can do that from the rest is to have the others fighting among each other. How do you keep people fighting among each other? Having them hate. The same thing they did with Hugo Chavez. You know, a lot of good. Oh, I have to talk about. No, don't erase that one, Norman. That was a good one. Norman brought up another subject about the Jane Elliott experiment on blue eye, brown eye. That is a very important experiment that shows you how fragile our minds are. And that just telling you, instilling in your mind that you are less than or more than changes your behavior. So, I mean, if you take a look at what we do, I'm coming back to you in a second, Jerry, but I really want to expound on what my brother here, Norman, had to speak about. If you go ahead and take a look at how much the input that one person has on the minds of others, and creating superiority and inferiority and all these different concepts, we as a people who understand these tricks, like what's occurring right now in redefining crime as being a democratic problem, when if we look at the statistics, it is completely different. That's not the reality. All of that has to do with the things necessary to foment hate. But go ahead and continue what you wanted to say.
Well, actually, by the way, he is a master at talking to everybody.
Right. In
terms of, and for instance, he's when it comes to the Ukraine Russian war, Mexico is basically neutral. Mm-hmm. He says there's no good guys and there's no bad guys, and Mexico is not going to get involved in But anyway, he's the guy does, been talking about the media and whatever. Every day he gets on for 2 hours. Now, unfortunately, it's only in Spanish.
Right.
But, he takes questions from the crowd, basically.
So where does he do these? Does he do it the way Hugo Chavez used to do it? Get on national TV and just talk and people call in?
Well, no, because he's not exactly like that, because he doesn't have control, but he's on the internet.
Oh, it's on the internet. Okay, so he has a program.
Because the Mexico is more like the U.S. in terms of like all the there's no station for him to really be on, and so it's a way of speaking directly to the Mexican people, and he takes calls from anybody. well, the people that, from any sort of journalist, and it can be somebody,
Right.
Whatever, an internet journalist and stuff like this. And he takes them from the big journalists, too, that are extremely opposed to him.
Absolutely. Hey, I want to read something from the internet because I want to keep our internet followers involved as well. E2247 says, hello, relatives. Great work being done here. Abuela 4T says, muy mal, tenemos que erradicar el odio y cambiarlo por amor. What she's saying in English is we got to eradicate hate and change it into love. She says, solamente siendo buenos podemos ser felices. Only being good can we be happy. So thank you so kindly for listening online, Abuela 4T. Welcome aboard. Norman says the mainstream media, not this station.
By the way, Abuela 4T means he's an AMLO supporter.
Yes.
4T is Cuatro Transformación.
Oh, you see, I just learned something from you, Jerry.
As a matter of fact, I am following Abuela 4T on Twitter in Spanish.
All right. Well, Abuela 4T probably saw the word AMLO and really got involved, so that it shows you what kind of community we have. When we get together online, on air, everything comes together. Norman says Norman, read that on the screen. You have a voice, man. You don't have to just write this stuff down. Let me hear you.
I'm just saying that the mainstream media, not a public radio station like this one, is owned by the plutocrats, and therefore a humanist will not get support. So you won't find their coverage in the mainstream media. You'll only find it in places like this.
Absolutely. So thank you for that thought, Norman. And it is important, folks. And Jerry, hold a second. I got to do a quick pitch here. Those of you who are listening to the program, today is a bit ad hoc in the manner that we have to blend, get in contributions as we do a show. And I didn't want to just go ahead and pitch and just say, please give us money. We do need your money to stay alive. This 100,000 watt transmitter needs you. But we also want to give substance, and we also want you to call in if you have some more additional information that you want to add to the show, if you want to ask some questions, whatever it is, because we need to let you understand that politics done right, KPFT is your station. This program is yours, and we will always be catering to you, of course, providing the absolute truth. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. I really want to thank Howard in the office, who's making sure that all the folks learn how to use the different systems in here. You want to do a station ID? Okay. This is KPFT 90.1 FM Houston. You're listening to right now. 713-526-5738. Please give us a call now. I'm still waiting for the contributions. I got $1,000 to raise, folks, and we don't have anything yet. Let me tell you a little bit about some offers that I have here, specifically my books. You guys know what I stand for: equality. I stand for everybody having equal access to success. And in order to do that, it all starts. This is going to sound corny. Learn to love each other, but let's go beyond that. The first book that I wrote was during the Obamacare debate, the Affordable Care Act. And I was so upset. Instead of channeling it into arguing, I channeled it into a book. And the reason I channeled it into a book is too many folks did not or do not understand economics. And it's not their fault. It's just how it is. So what I did is I wrote the book as I see it. Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. This book is an easy-to-understand book that shows you how the economic system works. It talks to you about patent farmers, how farmers are screwed, how we as students are. It talks about the whole issue, right? So if you can get this book for a contribution of $120, and you can do this over time, $10 a month, whatever you want, and you'll get this book, 713-526-5738. We provide you with a contribution, or rather, that is for a contribution of $120. The second book I wrote, when all the hate was going around and people were splitting between right wing, left wing, etc., what I wanted to do badly was to get people together. So I wrote this other book called It's Worth It: how to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors. Why did I do that? Because I wanted to say we are all in this together. And until we understand how to talk to other people and how to bring, then you can't get anywhere. The third book, that is also for $120 contribution. You can split that over several times. Last one I wrote was How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. What's the deal about this book? The whole deal is the following, okay? After you've been able to speak to people, right? After you've been able to speak to people, the next thing you have to be able to do is offer them solutions. And that's what How to Make America Utopia is about. How do we have solution? Okay, let's go ahead and talk to Lisa Aguirre. Let's see. Lisa Agurero. Come on in, Lisa. How are you doing today? Lisa?
Yes.
Yes, you're on.
Hello?
Yes, I'm
Luis.
here.
No, my name is Luis.
Ruiz. Okay, sorry about that, Ruiz. Ruiz, come on in, Ruiz.
No. Okay, my name is Luis, Luis Guerrero.
Oh, Luis Guerrero. Luis Guerrero. Okay,
Yes,
got
yes.
you.
¿Cómo estás?
Bien, gracias. ¿Cómo está, hermano?
Muy bien. I'm a supporter of KPFT because of I like the different opinions,
Mm-hmm.
but I have some difficulty hearing your approval of the Venezuelan dictatorship. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I am a Venezuelan national, and I cannot see why you guys keep saying that Chavez was a good guy and the current government and
Mhm.
the dictator, they are okay, when the basic needs for the people of Venezuela,
Mm-hmm.
are totally, we are deprived. We are right now 7 million out of 30 million.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself shows something, okay?
Yes, it does.
A complete corrupt government, okay?
Yes,
And
I agree.
They almost killed my son, but you guys at KPFT keep saying that, okay, Mr. Chavez, the international media,
Mm-hmm.
and, they don't talk the truth. But, I mean, I'm a Venezuelan national. I would like to see if, maybe...
Can we have a conversation then,
interview them.
Luis? Because I know when I'm done, you're going to agree with me. All right. I am not.
Mhm.
I don't praise politicians, whether it is Hugo Chavez or Perez, and you know who Perez is as well. Your former supposedly democratic president as well, right? ¿Cómo se llama?
Mhm. Yeah.
Carlos Andrés Pérez. Okay.
Yeah, but in those days, we didn't have to emigrate. Look what's happening.
I know. You're right, sir. You're right. You're going through my country.
Venezuelans dying.
Sir, you're
Dying.
right.
You have to get out.
I am agreeing with you. Okay. Carlos Andrés Pérez and Hugo Chavez, believe it or not, while on, let me ask you a few questions.
Yes, go ahead.
Your country sits on the largest pool of oil, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And your country was run during the days of Carlos Andrés Pérez, even though the oil system was nationalized. It is true
Mhm.
that the masses of Venezolanos, I don't know what your status is in the. By the way, let me ask it this way: what was your status in Venezuela?
I was a student, and I basically went to study.
Yes.
I studied all my university for free
Yes.
in Venezuela.
Okay. Perfect.
And
yes.
I got out of the university and went to work as a normal guy does.
I know.
Nothing happened. We had liberty.
I know.
And my brother's one was a rancher,
Mhm.
raising cattle, and then we enjoyed the freedom. There was poverty, yes. There was corruption, yes. But at least we, the Venezuelans, could live in our nation.
Right. But here's what I'm asking you, though.
Now we cannot live.
I agree. Do you agree that Hugo Chavez is completely different than Maduro? Honestly.
Well, but no. But the whole thing is this, okay? Hugo Chavez became the son of Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro installed the system that is right now in Venezuela. The Venezuelan there's no government. It's basically a puppet of the communist regime of Cuba.
Mhm.
And Hugo Chavez allowed that, okay?
Mhm.
Allowed that. In fact, this guy was basically a student of a communist school in Cuba. He's not even Venezuelan. He's Colombian. And Fidel says, this is the guy because we can control him. And I will say, yeah, this is my son. Please vote for him. I mean, this is and now with the repression and the military, they control everything.
Let me just tell you how things change.
Chance.
Let me just say this, Luis, because respectfully, right? Respectfully, and given. And by the way, David Atwood, thank you so kindly for your contribution. I really appreciate that, folks. Please call I want un ratito, Luis. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Or you can go to kpft.org. Look, we're having a great conversation here with Luis Guerrero with about the situation in Venezuela. He is a national from Venezuela. And like I always told you guys, this show belongs to you. And since I have a national from Venezuela here and he disagrees with some of my points, I don't think he really disagrees as much as he thinks, but and I'll come back with that in a little bit, but this is the kind of conversations that we must entertain not only here in the United States but around the world. 713-526-5738 and at kpft.org. And by the way, Luis, at any time, sometime after this conversation, because we can't have a full one, you can come and sit down in the office, in the studio with me, and we can talk, we can disagree and agree without a problem, because I think that's where it has to start. But I understand, I have a very good friend that's a Venezolano who lives out there in Spring with me, and we go through this over and over again. And what generally I feel is that we are seeing things through different eyes. And let me tell you what I mean by that, right?
Go ahead.
And it goes this way. The way a plutocracy functions, right, is that it awards benefits to some. In other words, we go ahead and we say we have to keep the manager class, a certain class in a particular domain, so that we can dominate the rest. And I'm saying, look, your status, and the reason I really asked you about your status is I know your status was good, and I know you probably got the bad end of the stick. You're not one of the bad guys, but you're one of the guys that were able to make it in Venezuela, a country that sits on the largest store of oil. Again, a country sitting on the largest store of oil could not possibly have poor people unless it intrinsic to its system itself, there is a problem. And the only way that problem can exist, and you notice today's subject was hate, right? Is we could get a particular part of the population to hate another part of the population. Otherwise, you guys have more than enough oil for everybody in Venezuela to be middle class. But here's the other thing, right? And I want you to kind of think about this that I'm going to say, and then you tell me if you can find some way of seeing it this way. There is a necessity. America had its neck on anybody in Venezuela who mentioned the word socialismo, not a bad socialismo, pero un socialismo que se encarga que la gente, a socialism that allows the people to have free healthcare or healthcare commensurate with other countries and have all these good things happen, right? America could not have that because it might flow to America. If you guys really said all the Venezuelan oil belong to the people and the profits from that oil will belong to the people, what would happen here in America that drills on public lands and people on public lands out here realize that they're getting ripped off, but they don't know it. But then a country like Venezuela, who sits on the largest pool of oil, has the richest people in the world because it is shared equitably. But that doesn't happen. The hate that I talk about today is trying to let others in your country hate the others, and then that creates the notion of I always said, believe it or not, you'd hear me say this, I am not a fanatic of Hugo Chavez. I'm not a fanatic, Maduro I think is a corrupt SOB, and I'm not a fanatic of Carlos Andres Perez or any of his subsequent guys, because they all screwed up in the totality of giving the people what they want. What I said, if you look at what Hugo Chavez had preached, I'm not necessarily saying what was realized, what was preached, you can't tell me that it isn't something that is appealing to most if realized.
Yes, sir. Let me.
No, do you agree with that or not, sir? That's what I'm asking.
Okay, Hugo Chavez was what we call a silver tongue. Okay.
Yes.
I even myself voted for him. Okay.
Yes.
First time. All right.
So you proved my point right there, sir.
Yes, but let me tell you, hate. Before him, there was differences between people, but he installed the hate between the poor and the rich, okay? And he started expropriating, destroying the economy.
Okay, I need to stop you right. I'm sorry, I don't normally interrupt folks, but you just said something that is very important. You just said, oh, it looked like somebody else was calling, but I want to get with you here, sir. You said he created a sort of a angst between the poor and the rich, right?
Yes.
I agree. And you know what, though? Here's what I want to ask now, because this is the next important question, sir. Wasn't that necessary? And here's what I mean. Think about this. The rich in Venezuela didn't get rich because they were fair. Because if they were fair, sitting on all of that oil and that fertile land and the gold and all the things that Venezuela is a very, very rich country. But those who control the richness are directly responsible for the poverty. So my question to you, sir, is shouldn't we really assign some blame to those people who took it all?
Say everything has to be.
Pero contéstame eso, pero mi amigo.
Today, yes, but let me say this. I'm a 65-year-old man.
Uh-huh.
I live the whole democratic era, and I live the whole. I've been here in the States for 4 years now.
Yes,
I know it all.
Yes,
and I didn't want to leave my nation. Okay?
I know,
but I had to. Now, let me say something. Before, I am a peasant.
Mm-hmm.
I come from a peasant family.
Yes.
Okay. I was given a free education.
Yes.
All the way through university.
Yes.
Okay. This is the democratic government.
Yes.
And high quality education. Okay. I was given it. All right.
Yes.
They respected the economic forces of the economy.
Yes.
So we had a certain level. We never were thinking about leaving the nation. I mean, if you look at the numbers, the Venezuelans start leaving the nation after all because of Chavez.
But I want un ratito, sir. Let me see if I'm trying to get us on the same playing field here.
Yes.
I really want to get us on the same playing field because you are an honest man, and not only that, you're a good man. And this is the reason I want you to understand something and tell me where you think I'm going wrong. Because this is this is a very important subject and it affects America as well. All right? You talk about an economy. You are 64 years old. I talk about in America not being, not a meritocracy, una meritocracia. America is not a meritocracy. America, you have to be chosen. I did well in America and I thought I was all that. Okay? But I wasn't all that. Most people are chosen. And that is what a lot of people don't understand, right? You were chosen. Even as you talk about going to school and getting the opportunities that you got, etc., why didn't the others get it too? And this is not on you. I'm saying that, and my subject today was hate. My subject is that you were necessary. A lot of us are necessary so that we can use you as that person. Look how great El Señor Luis Guerrero hizo, and my thing is this. I'm trying to get to I am trying to get some humility into all of us, right? To realize that nosotros no somos tan grandioso. I'm not all that. And the idea being that I look at the folks that don't have and what's the reason behind it, and can some of what I've done contributed to that. I had a software company and I used to sell software very expensive price, and there's a time that I became guilty because I realized the corporations didn't care what they paid me because they knew they were going to get it from the littlest of all little people, right? And so I'm saying that we created Hugo Chavez, we created Maduro. America, by putting its boot on the neck of Venezuela, not allowing any kind of economic development. It's easy to say, okay, Maduro is a crook. He is a crook, but America has helped him. Hugo Chavez came into being because, again, you had a country that had over 70% poverty rate, right? And it went on for decades and decades and decades, right? And you made it, right? You made it, and you did what you were supposed to do. Others attempted to do what they were supposed to do, but they weren't that successful. So eso es lo que estoy diciendo.
Right now, sir. Maybe the idea behind it is just my disagreement with praising Hugo Chavez and the regime of Venezuela.
And please don't take it as me praising.
Let me tell you something.
Yes, sir.
In democratic time in my country, we pay very little for electricity.
Got you.
We were given this, we were given that. The whole even in the democratic part, we were given a lot of free goodies. Okay,
yes.
Because of the oil revenue.
Yes.
Okay? So and that created some pitfalls. So people at one point basically were expecting from gives them everything. Okay.
Yes.
And it became worse with Hugo Chavez.
I got it.
Houses that how constructed. And this and that, and the whole thing is a mess.
You know what, Luis, I'm doing a show later on. I want to get you on because I have more people calling in, and you and I have been speaking for a while, and I enjoyed this conversation. Hey, I'm going to say the same thing. Given that you can have this conversation, if you have the wherewithal, don't forget to contribute in the name of Politics Done Right, because we'll have a lot of these conversations. You did it. Okay, great.
I already contributed a couple of days ago.
Okay, thank you.
I like the new ideas. Even if I don't agree with them. Okay.
Well, we talk.
That they exist. I support them. Okay.
Yes.
That is a good thing. Okay.
Thank you very much.
I support KPFT.
Luis Guerrero. I hope we made peace, and I hope you'll continue with Politics Done Right. And you have an open mic here. Okay.
Thank you,
sir. Bye-bye. All right, 713-526-5738. Folks, we need more contributors. Please give us a call, 713-526-5738. I cannot keep this show going without your support, 713-526-5738. And the discourse that you saw with Luis, somebody that completely disagreed with what I said, and we could have a pleasant conversation with respect on both sides. And you know what? We'll come to terms at some time. Luis Guerrero is a good man. And, so I'm pretty sure. Jerry, because Tori hasn't spoken yet, I'm going to put you on hold and let's go to Tori, and then I'll come back to you, Jerry. Tori, come on in.
Hello?
Yes, Tori, you're on.
Okay, let me turn the radio down here.
Yes.
All right, take you off speakerphone. Well, I just want to hit a few bullet points from what I remember.
Yes, hit your bullets.
History of Venezuela goes. Some of the things that are, important to understanding the drama, the narrative.
Right.
And it starts off with, Chavez taking power and Exxon wanting to control the oil.
Right.
And it boiled down to who's going to get 51% of control. And, Exxon got pissy and they wanted 51% because they'd always been in control and they were just used to running things. And they just, took their basketball home and left when Chavez wouldn't let them. But Chavez was what I call a libertarian socialist. He was he was at the beginning, very democratic.
Right.
I mean, he won a bunch of elections.
Yes.
I mean, you couldn't stop this guy from winning fair elections. And then, it's drifted into old-fashioned socialism, authoritarian fashion socialism with Maduro. But it didn't start with Maduro. Towards the end of Chavez's life, when he had brain cancer, he was starting to make a lot of bad decisions.
Yes, he did.
He could have given up a long time, and not just proceeded to be president with his cancer, brain cancer.
Tori, I think Luis Guerrero understood a lot of that. I mean, Luis Guerrero is still going through a lot of the pain of having to come here to the States because he wanted to stay in Venezuela. I understand all of that, right? I just wanted to to point out that even under the good times when people got a lot because of the oil money, they still had a systemic poverty system. And you only get a systemic poverty system when you're living on top of that many natural resources, if that is not afforded to everybody equitably. And I think, that's sort of almost like an absolute statement. Don't you agree?
Well, I want to continue with the historical stuff, but just to take a veer off into this direction, Chavez was a military guy, and he basically, he started a revolution. He didn't start off as, an elected politician.
Right.
He started off as a soldier, a paratrooper that was trying to get rid of the old guys. The point I'm trying to make here is that, soldiers and revolutionaries, they're good for revolutions, but they don't make good governments. Revolutionaries don't make good governors.
I won't disagree with you there, but he did have some concept, the Bolivarian Revolution, that even.
Oh, of course.
He
was reading Chomsky, for the first time as president. So he had a good heart, and he hired a lot of good people. There's a lot of academics in Venezuela, a lot of PhDs, and he put them in positions of power in the embassies, the consulate here and there. Any one of them could have been a better president than Hugo Chavez. But he was a populist, and he got in front of the cameras, and everybody loved him. He had some swagger. He had the.
I agree.
So anyway,
Tori, I got to get to Jerry Lynch, but you always.
Well,
have
let me make my point
here.
that I called
real quick.
Well, it's a history thing, and the problem with Maduro is that he is not letting the party primary process happen. There's a lot of people in the Venezuelan Socialist Party that would make great presidents, but, it's stifled at the top by Maduro. He's not, he's quashing democracy. So he's going to this authoritarian style of socialism, and that's a dead end.
That's the dead. I agree. That's horrendous. You heard me call what I called Maduro earlier. But Tori, I'll see you on Monday.
And he's a bus driver. And, again, Chavez was a military guy. You need people that are really professionals to run governments. You need people with backgrounds, academic backgrounds.
Hey, Guy, I don't have a lot of time.
And insurance and finance.
Tori, I'm out of time. I got to get to Jerry Lynch. Brother, I'll see you on Monday, my brother. Great seeing you. All right, man. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. We only have one contributor so far, folks. We need a lot more. Could you please keep the funds flowing to KPFT Politics Done Right? 713-526-5738. Jerry, come on in. Come on in, Jerry.
All right, Egberto, you've convinced me to contribute $10, even though I'm a sustaining member. But I'll contribute $10, and I'll get it there sooner or later. I'm in my car right now.
All right.
By the way, I did want to comment. I had to just caught the last part of Tori's thing. I would say that, Chavez, the United States would rather, the most threatening thing that could have happened in Venezuela is for Chavez to be successful. And
I mentioned that to Luis Guerrero earlier.
Stalinist type of dictatorship than a democratic socialist Venezuela distributing the wealth. And I don't know if he happened to mention it, but by the way, look at all the Venezuelans. We finally have created a major immigration from Venezuela by our. And I think, by the way, getting back to AMLO, one of the things AMLO is doing, and he never talks about this, but I think that it's partly based on what's happening in Venezuela. Mexico is now, and they're really upset over it, the international oil people and stuff. Mexico is now independent. If not now, in the next 6 months, will be completely independent on oil products. In other words, not all oil products.
Net oil products. I got it.
But gasoline and diesel.
Right.
And soon fertilizers. Mexico has also become self-sufficient in beans, of course, and corn. They got a way to go. Now, one of the reasons why he's doing it, I think, especially when it comes to oil, which he never talks about because they're always trying to say he's the worst aspects of their imaginary Chavez or Maduro. But so he never keeps away from that. But, we were able to boycott successfully virtually all gasoline going into to Venezuela, despite them having probably more oil than Saudi Arabia.
Actually, they do have more. Venezuela is the country with the most oil discovered.
I know,
on the
but
planet.
they don't have any. They don't have the ability to. They don't have any refineries, and so they're dependent. And that's one of the reasons why, fortunately, in the last month or two, and it happens occasionally, the Iranian tankers are able to get through. Not that I'm a great fan of Iran.
I got you. Hey, Jerry, I gotta go do some pitching because I'm down on funds.
I want to ask you one thing, though.
Yes.
If you've got an email or something from, if it's really Abuela Forti or something,
I will look at when I get home. I'll look on the chat and see if I have anything from her. But in case Abuela Forti,
if that's who it is, she's a big shot, and I can't get anybody from any of the AMLO supporters to follow.
I will find Abuela Forti for you. Okay, she was listening to our show.
Gerard Lynch. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you, my brother Jerry Lynch. That was Jerry Lynch, folks. 713-526-5738. Okay, folks, I need you to call now. I ask you. I'm done with the program that we were supposed to have. We spoke about hate. We spoke about Venezuela. We talked about Mexico. México, si hablas español. Así que llámanos 713-528-713-526-5738, 5738, 713-526-5738. Please give us a call now. We need to hear from you on this program. This program needs you. I've only got 4 more minutes to raise $1,000, folks. 713-526-5738. I'm nowhere close. Will you help? You can go ahead and remember, as I see it, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom, is the first book, a contribution of $120. The second book, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors. It's a contribution of $120. The third book, How to Make America Utopia. Take away the economy from those who rigged it, folks. You can get 2 of those books for a contribution of $200, 3 of those books for a contribution of $250, and you will be supporting and making sure that we can stay standing as the largest and only community radio station here in Southeast Texas, the entire 100,000 watt transmitter. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. David Atwood, thank you so kindly for your contribution. 713-526-5738. I ask you so kindly to call now and hit the number 1 to contribute. 713-526-5738. Of course, you can also go to kpft.org, kpft.org. Be sure to select Politics Done Right so that we can get going, folks. We really need your support. I said I was going to give you a show. We gave you a show. We gave you some very smart commentary from Jerry Lynch, from Tori Mercer, from David. I don't have David's last name. Also from Luis Guerrero. Luis Guerrero, passionate young man from Venezuela. We disagree. I don't know that we are all that disagreed, really, because both of us want what's best for humanity. It's a matter of how it's actually done. 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. We cannot do this without you. If you're listening to my voice, a cup of coffee a month, or just a one-time cup of coffee, 713-526-5738. Please give us a call now. Again, we simply cannot do this without you. I have about 2 more minutes before I close down. Make it happen on my show. 713-526-5738. We can do this, folks. We can do this. 713-526-5738, or go to kpft.org. Support what you've just heard. Support what's going to be heard. There's so much that we talk about here. There's so much. This is your station. This is your program. This belongs to you. I'm going to be getting a 10-second update in a minute so I can give my closer. So 713, please do it now. 713-526-5738. Think about how good you're going to feel knowing that you support making sure that others are enlightened. 713-526-5738. Una vez más, 713-526-5738. KPFT, support this station now, folks. Please support this station. We have 1 minute to go. 713-526. I know you can do it. 526-5738. 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. We are getting ready to close this baby out. I want to thank all of you who listen to me. Please tell your friends about us. Let them know that we exist. Let them know a station that belongs to us all exists. 713-526-5738. You guys are going to let me know. 713-526. This is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out! We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.